Andreessen Horowitz created a blog post that got a lot of traction recently talking about the emerging LLM app stack. And they show all the different components that you need in order to create an LLM stack that is modern and comprehensive. And when you look at this, my first thought was, look at all the products listed that I might have to learn and make choices about to figure out what I want to implement. The purpose of this video is to calm that anxiety so that you know you can create a platform like this without a ton of effort. So if you look, what they're showing here is if you've got an app and you want some Gen AI in that application, you go through your app hosting layer, and then you go through an orchestration model in LangChain, and then you interact with all of these components in order to get an LLM Gen AI response back to your user through the application layer. That's what this platform pretty much shows. But I want to show you, for the last 6 months, we've been building this, which is basically the same thing. So, but the difference is, instead of all of these specific choices that you have to make, we just use Databricks. So when we get application input from an application, we either use an inference endpoint, that's the Databricks MLflow serving layer, or we use a Kafka topic, and we use a structured streaming job to read it off the Kafka topic. We use LangChain for orchestration and adapting. Why do we do that? Well, things are changing too quick. So for right now, we're using ChromaDB as our vector data store, or we're using OpenAI for our LLM, but we may not want to in 6 months. And LangChain creates the adapters for all of those things so that we can just swap them in and out easily without rewriting everything. So LangChain is very valuable for that. We use Databricks for everything else, right? We're using Databricks as a developer playground where our data scientists and ML guys and anybody, our analysts, can go in and play with OpenAI or any of the other LLMs that we're hosting and interact with them, and any of the NLP models too. Everything, actually, all the ML stuff that we're doing, they can go through notebooks and the Git integration. And for me as a leader, I get to see what they're working on. I get to see their ideation, the revisions. They do normal pull requests. I can see their spikes. Like, it's very, very valuable for me to be able to keep track of what everybody's working on. For the LLM APIs and hosting, we just use Databricks MLflow, and unless we're using GPT, of course, then we just use the OpenAI API. For prompt generation, we use Chroma for the vector data store, but we might not always do that. Databricks has a vector index search that they're releasing. They announced it last June, but it's a private preview right now. They haven't released it yet, but when they do, we'll implement that along with their, they have an AI gateway tool that will go hand in hand with this that we'll play around with. We use OpenAI for our embeddings when we store the vectors. And then for our utility layer, we store all of the prompts and the responses in Delta Lake so that we can do analysis to make sure that things aren't going off the rails with updates. And it also helps us run experiments and do A/B testing. So we can use MLflow A/B testing to see any of our changes and the impact that those changes are having in our production systems. And then for deployment, rather than just using Terraform or some other infrastructure as code product, we're using Databricks asset bundles to deploy different environments like dev and test and staging and production. Now there's one area on this diagram that I haven't addressed, and that is this validation error here, This area says, hey, what happens if you're suffering from prompt injection? Or what happens if you are just getting bad results and you want to do LLM retry or LLM comparison? And there's these 4 products under here that you can play around with. I didn't address that because it seems like there's this trend that something with LLMs gets released on Twitter and it gets thousands of downloads, and then a month later, it's totally abandoned. We try not to waste our time with things that are not either in LangChain or Databricks or OpenAI. What we found is that these things that drop on Twitter really quickly, within a month or two, we find them in LangChain or Databricks or OpenAI, either the feature or the adapter or something that lets us use it easily. So again, the whole point of this is to say, you don't need to get overwhelmed by this huge list of things you need to learn. In my opinion, pay attention to the LangChain blog the Databricks blog and the OpenAI blog today, and you can use their platform to create a very robust and modern LLM platform. Thanks. Have a great day.